Welcome to Will Talks. Today we have this amazing person at the studios today, and her name is Angira Chakravorty. She's come all the way from Kolkata. I met this wonderful person at Jaipur in one of the conferences, and I got to know her work. And we invited her over to a school today, and she worked with I think over 100 different people across two slots, and it was phenomenal. It was absolutely beautiful to see teachers, especially new teachers, who did not know or they had no idea what's going to hit them. They came into this session, and 3 hours later, we could see teachers who are absolutely warm, connected, passionate, happy, who felt free and really joyful. So I think that session that we had today with Angira was super powerful, and hence we've asked Angira to talk to us more about what she does. Angira, so nice that you decided to be here today, and we are so glad that you were able to come. We are looking forward to hearing so much about dance and dance movement and dance therapy. And we'd also want to know more about you, what made you get into something so unique and different, such as dance. So, why don't you go ahead and tell us where you've come from, what you do, what caused you to get into this? Any context that you think would be, wonderful for our listeners here today.
So, to start with, thank you so much for having me over here. And it was a great pleasure to be in your school and to work with your teachers. They were so open to the new idea. And, like you rightly put, that they were not, you know, not much people have an idea that what is going to happen. And to be open to vulnerability and to be able to receive is a great, great boon. So I think kudos to you that you have brought in a school and building teachers who are open to newness. And it was a great pleasure to be there. To start with, I am from Kolkata. And in Kolkata, I think every household there has to be a dancer, a singer, an artist. So that is the cultural capital, I would say, of India. And that is normal in Kolkata to be trained in something or the other. However, my training in Indian classical dance started later in life, that is from college, but I've been always dancing. And I found tremendous joy in dancing. And I was very, very fond of biology in school. So I learned that, when you move, there are these happy hormones that are secreted in your body. That's called the EDSOM, the endorphins, the dopamines, the serotonins, and you become happy. But then you can swim, you can cycle, you can jog, you can walk, and you can do so many other movements. Even they would secrete the happy hormones. But there was something extra that was happening while dancing. What was that? That was my question. Each time I danced, I moved, I performed, I felt this tremendous joy, this cathartic joy. And I wanted to know what is it happening. It was more than improved blood circulation. It was more than just the happy hormones. It was more than just cardio. It was more than just a lot of oxygen going into your system. There was something more that was happening. And that is where my search, my curiosity began. And my that kira of biology, I think I could finally get them together on one plane, where I always was confused for years that whether to find my calling as a dancer or as a biology teacher. And then I think after 11 years of going through that confusion, I figured out that actually they go hand in hand, they complement each other. And that is how dance movement therapy was born. It was not as in today, like we open Facebook or YouTube and we find a video just right out there. At that time, when I started about 9 years back, it was still, and I have not been a too techie person. So it was a search, and it was find out where I found that where dance marries biology, not a marriage of these today's time, but a beautiful marriage, as in a beautiful union. And I found that, wow, I can do together. I can keep both my interests alive. And that is not only going to do good to my own curiosity and interest, but it's going to do so much of good to people. Because I believe in beauty, benefit, and good, that any work that you're doing is has to bring all these three elements: the good for people, beauty as in the joy of the work, and benefit from it's like it makes you financially also happy. So every time I chose a work, I found one of the factors was always missing. Either there was beauty and benefit, good wasn't there, or good and benefit, beauty wasn't there. So this was this one calling where I found all three coming together. And I think since then, it has never been, looking back. I have been taking it forward.
That's amazing. So did you teach in the classroom as a teacher, as a biology teacher?
Yes, I did.
Wow. I mean, just sitting here listening to listening to you speak and just watching the way you're talking, there is no doubt in my mind that you are passionate about this. I know that this genuinely brings you joy. The energy that you bring to this discussion is just phenomenal. So one thing that I heard was while the teacher teaches a subject, the children are learning the teacher. While the teacher teaches the subject, the children are learning the teacher. And that's why it's so important that teachers are powerful. Teachers have meaningful pursuits. Teachers have passion, and teachers have this purpose, right? Because those are the skills that children are going to learn and they're going to take on in their life. And I can just imagine the children in your classroom. They'll be, they'll be. I mean, I'm imagining here they'll be super happy, super excited to have you in their class. Tell us a little bit more about your experiences as a teacher before you got into this amazing field of dance movement therapy.
So it was back in the years 2010 and 11 where I was teaching in Universal Group of Schools in Ghatkopar. I used to stay in Bombay at that time. And I used to teach biology, chemistry to the higher classes, and science and maths to the primary sections. So my sessions were always about having fun, learning through fun. I didn't know the word kinesthetic learning back in those days, but however, I found activities that would involve a child get up, stand up, move from the chair, roam around the classroom, become a cloud, become molecules, stick together in a solid, scatter a little bit in a fluid, and become run around the classroom as a gas. So I would come up with all these things that how you can learn all these heavy words, heavy concepts of evaporation, of condensation, of precipitation, of sedimentation. So, how you become a sediment and settle at the base of a container, how you evaporate. It warm air rises, it becomes lighter, cold air sinks. So, how would it be to feel it in the body? And being a dancer, I would always dance like I'm dancing now. So I would keep moving, keep teaching my children. And that's what I also enjoyed, because something I believe is when a teacher is enjoying, the children they will enjoy. There is no doubt about it. However, being a teacher, I also understood the challenges that teachers go through. The continuous standing, the posture of checking, paper correction, the neck, the back, the lower back, the knees. There are a lot of physiological damages that happen to a teacher, and which naturally impacts the psychology of the teacher as well. So I felt that why not work in this field? Why not bring something for the teachers and also the voice? You have to constantly talk and talk from your either your throat or your diaphragm or your belly. So you learn to use your voice in a way that doesn't tire you, that doesn't fatigue you, but that energizes you, because once you are energized, your children are going to be energized. So I realized that a teacher's mental health, physical health, emotional health is very important for the children's mental, emotional, physical, cognitive health and growth. So that's where being a teacher, being in the shoes of a teacher, I always felt a little more for them. And that is why I take it to the teachers, reach out to the principals.
From what you're saying, it is really insightful because when we look at teachers and the way and you look at their work environment, it's just beautifully put. There's just so many things going wrong there, right? In terms of standing all the time. I know schools where principals tell them you're not allowed to sit and take a lecture. You have to stand and take a lecture. I know classrooms where there are no chairs for teachers to sit, right? I know classrooms where principals need to see a teacher doing intense amount of stage management. Like if it doesn't look like the teacher is standing and leading a political rally, then it doesn't feel like the teacher is teaching, and teachers are then subject to all these very crazy standards, and I can imagine how it must be taking a toll on themselves, their bodies, and how they're probably just angry, or irritated, and then you have all these children who want your attention, who want to attract you to other things apart from what you're trying to teach them, and then they have to use their teacher voice, and perhaps they start overcompensating and they get authoritative, and probably that's the only way they think that they can make sure that that they're heard and understood. And when you put it that way, right, the way you put it just makes so much sense, because then principals need to start thinking about what's the workload, what's the seating arrangement, am my teachers really physically comfortable, can I make them happy, and and that I think is really critical. So how has your experience been with schools, when you go to schools and you meet principals? How do they take it? Like, do they understand what dance movement therapy is? Because they all understand dance and they say, "ठीक है, annual day में दो गाना लगा दो," right? How do you handle it? What do you want them to know? What do you want them to? What do you want to tell a principal if she's patiently listening?
Oh, that's a great question. Thank you for the question. Um, when I talk about dance movement therapy, first of all, it's a mouthful name, three interesting words, and then there is word called therapy. So the first knee-jerk reaction to the phrase of dance movement therapy is for the children who are underperformers. So we have a set of children who are not performing well. So can you come and do something for them? And I say, obviously, ma'am, I can do that. However, I've come for the teachers. And they quite do not like that. Because a school is constantly thinking for children's growth, and that is amazing because that is what a school is meant to be. However, I keep thinking that if the teachers are not happy, how can the children be happy in the long run? And not only the teachers, even the parents, because the Child Mind Institute, that it says that 50% of children's mental diseases start before age 14. So, one, if the school can facilitate the teachers and equip the teachers to identify what is happening amongst the children, then they can do such early detection. And that can happen only when the teachers are mindful. The teachers are in the here and now and not just ticking the checklist that the syllabus over, that is over, going through their own physical pain, aches and pains. That is only possible when they are happy, they are in the now, they are mindful, they are calm, and they feel that the school is also taking care of them. So the response is there are principals like you who understand the importance of teachers' mental health and they do invite me promptly. However, there are principals who really insist that I create curriculums around children, like how I can educate teachers to bring in the kinesthetic learning to classroom, which is also there in my agenda, which is something I will do. However, I feel first the teachers need to be happy, and then probably I don't need to teach them also. They will figure out themselves. If they are kinesthetically activated, they are moving themselves, they are bodily aware, they are self aware, they will come up with ideas. They will create their own movement modules and they will take it to classroom. They will make their children breathe together so that a very active, naughty class can calm down and they can start breathing together and they can be in the now and they can focus better. So there are small, small things that I can do with the teachers or people who are working in my field can do with the teachers that can impact the children in the long run.
What would like a typical dance movement therapy class look like? Is it called a dance movement therapy class, or what happens when a teacher has experienced this work and when she goes back into the classroom? What kind of changes do you think you would probably see in the teacher as a person and the teacher as an instructor? And what do you think would be the impact of that for children? If you could just paint a picture for me.
So, a teacher, first, I mean, keeping the teachers aside, all of us have become cerebral. We operate neck up. We only think from here, we feel from here, we decide from here. We think we are angry, we think we are happy, we know we are hungry, we know we are angry. But do we really ask our body that, how is my body feeling? Because body we keep for the gross level activities like food, rest, sleep, exercise, sex, and the functional activities. All these things are for the body. But the higher level things are for the mind. But the body also has a mind. The body has intelligence. The body has wisdom. The body can think and feel. The body has memory. The body stores memory. But we do not ask the body. So what happens is we start getting disconnected. And in the last 2.5 years, this work from home culture where we have not used our lower half of the body, we have all attended our sessions in pajamas, right? So we did not use our jeans, our trousers, our skirts. So not only that we were not using our clothes, our lower half clothes, we were also not using the quadriceps, the hamstrings, the glutes. Even they were not being used. And there's a saying, you use it or you lose it. So our lower half of the body has really aged and aged faster compared to the upper half. To have that mind-body connection, we need the whole body to act. We do not even know we have an elbow till we really bump into that door corner while leaving the room. And then we say, ouch, and we know that we have an elbow. So we are not connected. We are cerebral people. We have become, all of us. So a session of dance movement therapy attunes you to your body. We are so in the mind, we are either in the future or in the past, we are never in the now. Moving with the body brings you to the now. So when a teacher experiences a session in dance movement therapy, they are so present that the moment they enter the class, they are present with the children. They can see, hear, feel, identify much better than someone who is either in the past, or this is a naughty class, or in the future that I have to finish the syllabus. So we can be in the now. We can start enjoying the now only when we are in the body and not in the head. So this head to body transition happens through movement.
And when you say being in the now and being present to what is happening around you, I just completely feel that children in a classroom are always in the here and now,
Yes.
and and then they have a teacher who's either in the yesterday or the tomorrow, right? And I can only imagine when a teacher is being more present, being in the here and the now, there will be so much more connection and the wavelengths will match, right?
Absolutely.
And there will be relationship. And they say rules without relationship leads to rebellion. So imagine like a teacher who's really in alignment with her students, builds relationship and rapport, and avoids rebellion. And that just leaves so much time for children to get to learning. Have you noticed um, principles, or have you noticed what have you noticed in terms of change that happens in teachers? Has anyone come and told you some really cool stories, or really nice stories, some heartwarming stories about these sessions that you've taken? Because our culture, people don't seem to say they want therapy or counseling. They just don't. They're like, "Hey, everything is okay with me," right? But when we are able to, as school managements, when you're able to present something like this to teachers when they least expect it, in many cases, it's a gift for them because just giving time out, right? And you're putting it in the most important hour. You're putting it in billable hours, if you know what I mean.
Yes.
And you're saying that this is important. So, any stories that come to your mind? Any stories of transformation?
Quite a few. What comes across as a fun entertainment class has its impact through the time. It is not those 1 or 2 or 3 hours, but it does bring about a shift at a very subtle level that manifests in time. So, uh, what happens is there's a saying that when the therapist's work ends, it is the participant's work that begins. So, after a session is done, which actually looked like a fun session and a lot of dancing happening and a lot of bonding and team building and catharsis happening, it starts settling in and the participant starts processing what happened, even if they're not cognitively thinking about it, they're still processing it. And what I have come across, the stories that are so heartwarming are later, when I meet them later after 2 months, 3 months, and they come and, either I bump into someone at a movie theater or a mall, and they say, I've done that, and things started moving after that. I'd worked on this and I quite didn't really believe that this is going to bring about a shift. I felt good at that time, but this actually brought a shift. And the spark on their eyes, the spark on their faces, the joy in their eyes, that is what tells me that actually gave me the confidence to continue with this work. Because initially it's such a niche new thing. Even I was doubtful that how much is it really working. I am doing, people are feeling happy, they are saying thank you, we are clicking pictures, people are going back home. But is something shifting? That was somewhere I also needed to know. So this came as a huge validation for me from the participants that things really move. So, I being a bhakt of movement, I thought because I'm a believer, I have made it move for me. But I also wanted to see on the people I have been working with. And that's the reason I think it's been 9 years I'm continuing. Otherwise, I wouldn't have got the motivation and the courage to take it forward.
Tell me a little bit about this work that you do under the name of Healing Rhythm. What is healing rhythm? And you have an unusual spelling there. So would you want to share a little bit more about your thoughts behind naming your company and your movement that way?
So, I believe that everything has got a rhythm, be it the change of seasons, the way the sun comes and goes, the day and night, the waves come and go, the moon waxes and wanes, uh, a breath, a pulse, a heartbeat, the way our digestive juices are secreted from time to time. Everything, they follow a rhythm. It's only when we fall out of the rhythm, there is dissonance, there is disharmony, there is non alignment, and thus there is disease. So dis-ease is basically disharmony, dissonance, and disalignment. So to tune into our rhythm, our own rhythm, we can follow a rhythm outside. We can play a rhythm, we can move to a rhythm, we can create a rhythm. And when we are aligning our breath to that outer rhythm, we start aligning to our inner rhythm. Like people pray to God, and after really praying for years, they realize that God is within. Similarly, rhythm is something I feel you first can seek outside and finally find that, oh, this rhythm is actually in me, inside me. It has always been inside me. But I think we like the process of outside to inside. And that is how we understand, because we want to see something tangible first outside. And that's where we realize that it has always been there. And I feel that this entire process is very healing. So that's how the name Healing Rhythm came. And the spelling, there are two Y's and one I. So rhythm is RHYTHM. So I have an extra Y and an I. And if you look at the logo, it's like a small Y and there's a big Y and there is an I. So it's like a dancing figure. So when you dance, you actually break out your lesser self, you emerge as that bigger self, greater self, and thus you discover the I. So that's how the name came. And when you discover the I, that is when you realize that I is not important. It's beyond I. But we can never realize that without first identifying the I. So it is identifying the I and going beyond I. So to identify what we have as a constant is our bodies. So without knowing our bodies, we can never discover the I. And it's only when we discover the I, we know that, oh, it's beyond. So I,
Yeah, that's amazing. And what if we have teachers listening to you today here, and what if they're part of a school that doesn't believe or invest in such kind of experiences for their teachers? How do you think a teacher could start thinking about making more joyful classrooms, making more happy classrooms? How can a teacher, how could she start, or where could she look for information, or what should she be doing? Is there anything that you can help teachers who are stuck to get unstuck?
so I believe in the power of expression. And expression, when we say expression, it is just not a verbal expression, because we have minimized and constricted the word expression to just verbal expression, which is a tiny part of expressing ourselves. We can express ourselves kinesthetically, that is through movements, visually through art, auditorily through sound, and a mixture of all of it together. So every emotion, everything that we feel doesn't have a verbal equivalence. What happens to all those that are stuck there and asking for release? They're looking out for a vent. We need channels, medium of expression. And what better can be than art? If we do not have art, how can we express? So Picasso said, I'm uh, paraphrasing it, that every child is born an artist. But as we grow up, we lose it. We lose our artistry. And that is where I guess the expressive arts therapy can help. And the moment we talk about art, we always look at art as the product, as the final thing that is happening on stage, be it dance or the final song that comes out at the end of creating music or the final piece of art. However, art is not the final product, but it's the process. It is the years of sadhana, years of practice that takes that dancer onto that stage to perform that. And the real transformation, which we call a therapy in today's time, happens in that process. The transformation that happens in the process of learning music, practicing, doing riyaz, hours after hours, days after days, weeks, months, decades, that creates that final thing is actually the transformational journey that we are talking about. So, here, when we talk about expressive arts, is not about how good an artist, the teacher or the child or anyone who is experiencing this practice to become. It is not about good or bad, right or wrong. It is about that artist that is there, innate. You're born with that artist. How can you bring that out through the process of creating art so that you perform in your field of whatever you do at the optimum level? If you're a banker, then you do the banking at the best by creating art. So we have, these are artists and these are non-artists. These are creative people and non-creative people. I believe everybody is a creative person. We just do not practice it. There are a set of people who have gone into the field of numbers and IT, and they think I am not a creative person. How can we not be a creative person? If we are waking up every morning and looking forward to the day, we are a creative person. So it's not about the product, but it's the process. And that, I think, should be taken to every human being.
That's amazing. The two, three things that came to my mind as you spoke about art as a journey and art as a process, and how we are so tuned to looking at art as a final, the grand finale, right? And in many cases, it's the grand finale is after so many years of practice and so many years of preparation. And most of the time, grand finales are not the ones that inspire and motivate us. It almost feels like entertainment. It doesn't feel like, it doesn't encourage and motivate or invite me to participate in that art form. And when you look at a typical school setting, right? When you look at the way schools are organized, pre-primary, primary, secondary, and higher secondary, right? Things start getting really cerebral. If you look at the pre-primary teachers, they naturally know that they have to be expressive. They naturally know that they have to do funny things with their kids. They naturally know that they have to connect with children at their own level. And I don't know what happens the minute a child comes to first standard, boom, right? He's wearing a new uniform, he or she is wearing a new uniform, and suddenly they are expected to be all adult. And all the fun and games and everything is almost like, weaning away. And as the child comes to secondary, like fifth standard, sixth standard, seventh, oh my God, the expectations that we have on children when they come to fifth, sixth, and seventh, they're still children, right? And things get really, really serious. Almost, you can almost hear teachers saying that you are not in primary anymore, or you're not in secondary anymore. You are now like this and you are not like that. And we start setting those stereotypes. We start setting those norms or those expectations. And I think that I don't know. What do you think about that? Can we bring in this all the way up to 10th standard? And I know you can work with adults and things like that. But do you see this mainstreaming in school? Do you see this mainstreaming with every subject? Because if you ask any person today our age and you ask them what was your favorite subject in school, they would say PT period. Probably the only period where they were using their bodies and not just their ears. So, what are your thoughts on this? Do you really feel that, how could teachers in primary, secondary, higher secondary, where things get more serious, how can they get more serious using dance and using expressive arts?
I feel that it has to be a flow. It's not that
Flow.
one day,
Okay.
that is around March end, you get the report card and you get this report and it's written that you're promoted to the next class. And from next day, how do you start behaving like a different person? It's just a day, it's a difference in 24 hours. So, flow is when the transition is seamless. So, it's not staccato, class 3, class 4, class 5. So my hands went like this, but suppose my hands go like this. So it is visually so comforting, and also it is so comforting for me. So this flow can only happen when the teachers are also flowing. And they take the child from class 3 to 4 in that seamless transition, when suddenly even the child rises up to the occasion and realizes, okay, there are higher syllabus and more expectation out of me, but it's not like you are no more in class 3, you're no more in primary. So I feel that there has to be flow from one class to the other as the syllabus gets intensified, and seriousness can be brought with enhancing the capacity to express. The more a child is given the space to express, verbally, non verbally, the more teachers practice expression, verbally, non verbally, we can deal with any subject, any syllabus, any intensity in a much fun, joyful, and flow way.
Yeah. That's really cool. So tell me something. If a school or a school principal wants to start looking at incorporating this within their curriculum or within their school year, what are the kind of what is an ideal uh, frequency to do workshops like this? How what could you lay down like a three, four, five things that they should take it into consideration? What kind of let's say facilitator? What is an ideal group size? Should it be homogeneous or mixed groups, or across schools or across sections, or should it how many times in a year? What's an ideal duration? Anything like that you'd like to share so
This
that people
some
can think about getting started?
is something that I feel personally that teachers can do a quarterly workshop like 4 times a year. At the beginning of the session, the teacher, the facilitator with the school management and the principal can set up a target that this is my group, this is the observation, this is the need analysis, and we create a need analysis together, and the objective, we set the objective together that after 4 sessions we will achieve here. And every 3 months we meet for a whole day workshop, ideally, because it takes about 2 to 3 hours to just break the ice. And when we are getting comfortable, that is when, if the session ends, so it becomes incomplete. After the whole day program, or in between the 3 months, that is on the 45th day, there can be a virtual follow up where teachers and the facilitator meet and can do like a check in, like where they are, the goals that they have set, how much they have been able to work on them, how much they couldn't follow up. There can be small peer groups that can be created who also follow up on each other, that how much they're progressing. And the coordinator of the school and the principal can keep a close watch. And that's how we achieve the target at the end of the year. And we can do psychometric tests from, we can do a pre and a post test and can find out that this is where I was, this is where I have come. An assessment, an internal assessment they do for themselves, and a school and the school management can do one for the teachers. So this is how we can progress for the teachers. And once we feel that the teachers have come to a point, we start introducing kinesthetic learning. That is, these are the things that you can take to the classroom and start doing for your children. With your children.
Amazing. That's such a really handy way for principals to start thinking about getting this kind of work into their classrooms and into their schools. And it doesn't look like it takes a lot of time. It just feels like there's crazy amount of impact that this can create. So schools should start thinking about return on impact rather than return on investment. I keep saying that.
That's a nice
I mean,
phrase.
schools are in the impact business, right? That's what they should be looking at, and they need to understand that they're in service of not just the children in the building, but they're also in service of the adults in their building. Teachers spend 7, 8, 9, or 10 hours working, and most people spend most of their time in their workplace. And it is also the responsibility of school managements to ensure that they are creating happy, purposeful, meaningful, joyful places of work, so that these people, whoever work in these schools, go home as happier individuals. And the impact that they have on their families and their family members is one that can be cherished for a long time. So I think that work just goes beyond so many professional expectations. So thank you, Angira, for being with us today and sharing these amazing ideas. It's to many principals, this will be a ray of hope. And I hope that they would get in touch with you. They find you on LinkedIn, or they'd find you on Instagram as Healing Rhythm, and they follow your work. And I hope that they get in touch with you. And are you open to having people just randomly getting in touch with you to,
Absolutely.
even if they don't, if they're not ready to start something immediately, but if they could just have a conversation with you, is that
welcome.
something that you're happy to have? Okay, brilliant. So. I think that's the time we have today. Thank you, Angira, and continue the great work that you're doing. And we would definitely have you back in the school that we met at in the next quarter for sure. Thank
Thank
you.
you so much. Thank you so very much.